Chapter 8, 9A, we're looking at the payroll register and the payroll journal entry. Hopefully, a lot of what we're going to be looking at here you've picked up and you're pretty comfortable with doing from previous assignments in the chapter. We have 5 employees and we're going to complete the payroll register. We're going to explain how this payroll register was completed. So we have all of our employees here. Number of allowances and marital status. Remember that's important when calculating their federal withholdings. And from the book tells us how many hours that they worked and what their rate of pay is and what their total earnings were up until this paycheck. So their cumulative pay up until this paycheck. So we're going to calculate a new cumulative pay. So for Andrea, our first employee, the book tells us, and you can see up here in the formula column, that she worked 40 hours at $12 an hour for $480. Her overtime, she had 5 hours of overtimes, and you'll notice that here it has a 12 times the 1.5, so that's what I've explained. Her rate of pay is 12, overtime is 1.5 times 12 hours, and then times the 5 hours that she worked, so she has $90. So then for her total earnings, we're going to add 480 plus the 90 together, and in the cumulative total, we're going to take our total here, and in the book it tells us that she had earned $5,480 so far year to date. So then we're going to look at her taxable earnings for unemployment compensation, Social Security, federal employment tax, Social Security again, and I'll explain why we have 2 Social Securities, Medicare, and city tax, and health insurance. Okay, so looking at Andrea, her unemployment compensation, we actually aren't going to be looking at unemployment until the next chapter, but the employer is the one who pays the unemployment compensation. So this is just asking for taxable earnings. So keep in mind that taxable earnings wants to know how much is subject to tax. And then over here we have our actual deduction. So that's why there's 2 Social Security columns. This one fits under how much is going to be taxed, and this one is how much the tax is. So $570 from her total earnings is subject to unemployment and also subject to Social Security. We know that because none of our cumulative total here is over $7,000, which is the maximum for unemployment, and none of it is definitely over the $110,100 for Social Security. So these 2 columns are always going to match our total column here simply because we can see we haven't reached any maximums. So everything is going to be subject to both of those. Then we're going to calculate our federal employment tax by going to those brackets in our textbooks that we've used several times now, using the 570 for our total pay, our marital status, and our number of withholdings. So 4 marital status and $570, and that'll give us $13. Social Security tax is going to be, it says Q12, so the amount subject to Social Security times 0.062. Medicare is going to be our total earnings, okay? Should be this one over here, 570 times our 0.0145. City tax, it tells us that we have a 1% city tax, so it's going to be our J12 times our 0.01. And then the book just tells you who has some health insurance and any other deductions. So Andrea had $15 withheld for insurance, and she had $20 withheld for the credit union. So this column here, this total, is going to be the sum of all of these deductions. Okay, you'll see that it says T12, so it starts with this cell here and goes all the way through. And then our net pay is going to be J12, so I have to go back a little bit, which is our gross pay column minus the total here, okay, and that gives us our net pay. And so you're going to do the same thing for each one of these employees and then add each of these columns at the bottom, and that's where we're going to get the numbers for our journal entry. So remember, wages and salaries expenses always for gross pay, so that's the $2,349. Then we have all of our total withholdings, which are going to be these totals through here, and then the cash is going to be the total of our net pay column here.